Leadership Talk, Using a Consent Agenda. What is Leadership Talk? Manitoba Agriculture and Resource Development industry leadership staff provide free webinars on building the organizational capacity within the agriculture sector, which results in high-performing organizations. This content is designed for informational purposes only. The information is not intended to be a substitute for professional advice. Organizations should consult their professional advisors related to specific situations. Today we will look at the definition of agenda, the importance of the meeting agenda as a meeting management tool, what makes effective agendas, what is a consent agenda, and adopting a consent agenda in your organization. For information on agenda preparation and formats, please watch the Leadership Talk video, Agenda. The Gage Canadian Dictionary 1998 defines agenda as a list or plan of things to be done or accomplished. The purpose of a meeting is to make decisions around issues that impact the organization's mission, old or new business, and strategic plan. The meeting agenda helps the organization to stay focused on fulfilling this purpose. The agenda is a step-by-step outline of what you intend to discuss or accomplish at a meeting. It may include how long the meeting will last or how much time will be spent on each topic. Agendas play a key role in effective meeting management and assist the organization to increase its accomplishments. It is one part of the total process used to conduct a meeting. Agendas can keep the chair and members on topic, shape the focus and process of the meeting, ensure business is conducted fairly, provide direction and information to participants, set the tone of the meeting, influence board performance, support effective use of time. As mentioned earlier, the primary purpose of meetings is to make decisions around issues that impact the organization's mission. When this doesn't happen, individuals can become disengaged and feel that their time is being wasted. This can be a major factor in board member resignations. Planning your meeting agenda becomes a balancing act. Who is responsible for the agenda? Although the chair will have the largest role, all members of the board have a responsibility. Other executive and committee chairs should prepare their reports and ensure someone is at the meeting to present and speak to the report. Members should contact the chair with topics they would like discussed. Let's take a moment to look at the anatomy of a meeting to find out where and how time might be wasted. A typical meeting of an organization is comprised of three parts. Items for information. This could include announcements, progress reports from committees, or items of correspondence. The purpose of these agenda items is to simply inform the board of action that has been taken that is affecting members. Items for discussion, referral, or tabling. These are agenda items that require further input from the board prior to a recommendation for decision or action. These items may lack sufficient information, or there may be issues regarding these items that need to be referred to a committee or the executive. These may be poorly timed discussion items or those that the board does not wish to take immediate action on. Finally, items for decision or action. These are agenda items that require action immediately. They are often discussions that result in specific recommendations. These are the agenda items that make members of the organization feel that they are having an impact. As you can see, only a portion of the typical agenda is focused on decisions. Organizations often find themselves spending too much time covering information. This leaves insufficient time to discuss important issues and get work done, or results in a very long meeting. The consent agenda format is one meeting management tool that can be used for energizing your board and improving governance. The consent agenda groups the routine, procedural, informational, self-explanatory, and non-controversial items of business. The group votes on the package or bundle without discussion. If there are questions, a motion is made to move a specific item out of the consent agenda. To be successful, the information included in the consent agenda must be circulated in advance and requires the board members to review the material before the meeting. The consent agenda is designed to offer more time during the meeting for items that require deliberation and decision-making, the things that matter most. It is popular with nonprofit groups because it helps streamline meetings and allows the focus to be on important issues. Here is an example of an agenda that follows the consent agenda format. Your board may already be using a modified consent agenda. Do you pass minutes or reports as circulated rather than as read? If you are unsure about what items your organization might include in the consent agenda, recall that consent agenda items are those that are routine and mostly informational. Here is a partial list of appropriate items to include. Minutes from previous meeting. Routine correspondence requiring no action. Committee and staff reports. Updates or background reports provided for informational purposes only. Appointments requiring board confirmation. Approval of contracts that fall within the organization's policy guidelines. Final approval of proposals that have been previously thoroughly discussed, where the board is comfortable with the implications. Dates of future meetings. These are all items that are self-explanatory and uncontroversial. For information only or confirm a previously discussed issue. These items should be listed in the consent agenda in priority order. Examples of items that should not be included in the consent agenda are the auditor's report, major executive committee decisions, items that require thorough discussion or further investigation. Ask yourself if the agenda item contains an issue that warrants discussion. Is it needed for another meeting agenda? Or do we need to continue the discussion? Now that your organization has decided to implement the consent agenda, what's the next step? Organizations should fully understand the purpose, format, and process of the consent agenda before adopting and implementing its use. Moving to a consent agenda is a change in policy and practice for most organizations. Although it is not a constitution and bylaw matter, it is still a big step that should be adequately thought through and documented. The consent agenda should not be used to hide important issues or stifle difficult discussions. There are numerous sites on the internet that offer advice on using consent agendas, including Robert's Rules of Order. I will share some at the end of the presentation. Here are steps to assist you in moving to the use of a consent agenda. Begin by researching the use of a consent agenda. Educate the board or membership about consent agendas, how they work, what could be included, how they will improve the meeting experience and streamline meetings, expectations of members. Approve a motion to adopt the consent agenda as the accepted agenda for meetings. Have a committee create a policy. Share the policy and procedures with the board or membership so they can provide feedback and make an informed decision. Approve the policy and implement the consent agenda. Here are some specifics for the committee creating the policy to consider. What may be included in the consent portion of the agenda? What may not be included in the consent portion of the agenda? Timeline for providing the agenda and information in advance of the meeting. Be sure to allow enough time for the information to be received, read, and digested by the board or membership. How items may be removed from the consent agenda. Documentation for minutes. How will the consent agenda be recorded in the minutes, and what items must be stored with the minutes? What meetings can use the consent agenda? All of the organization's meetings? Only board meetings? Only committee meetings? Will it be used at the annual general meeting? Date of implementation. What is the first date this policy will be in effect? The Industry Leadership website includes a template for developing a consent agenda policy. The link will be shared at the end of the webinar. How does the consent agenda work? Unlike the traditional agenda, much of the work is done before the meeting by the participants. Before the meeting, Board members receive all supporting documentation of items to be included in the consent portion of the agenda. The expectation is that participants have reviewed the information and asked any questions or sought clarification required on these items prior to the meeting. This puts a greater responsibility on the meeting participants to prepare and engage in the discussion item prior to the meeting. Once the agenda items and format have been selected, individuals should be adequately informed of the business or issues that will come before them during the meeting. This information is needed to make informed decisions. This could include copies of the agenda, past meeting minutes, committee reports including the financial report, materials to be used for discussion at the meeting. Receiving information in advance allows members to prepare and therefore participate fully in the meeting, and will shorten the time spent on these items at the meeting, as time does not need to be allocated to read these items, only to discuss and make necessary motions. At the meeting, there is no further discussion on the items on the consent agenda. A single motion and vote applies to all of the items on the consent portion of the agenda. What might have taken an hour now takes 5 minutes. If there are items on the consent agenda that an individual still wishes to discuss at the meeting, a request can be made by any member to pull the item from the consent agenda and it is added to the full agenda. The chair then removes the item without question and includes it elsewhere in the full agenda where they deem appropriate. It is not always necessary to remove an item from the consent agenda if people have simple questions. Discussion is permitted after motion for approval is made, but before the vote. However, extensive conversation defeats the purpose of using the consent agenda. Using the consent agenda. Prior to the meeting, the agenda should be set by the chairperson and possibly other members of the executive. All documentation supporting the items in the consent agenda are circulated and should be reviewed by meeting participants. At the meeting, as the first item of business, the chairperson will ask if anyone wishes to remove or add any item from the consent portion of the agenda. If there is an item to be removed, the chairperson will determine where on the full agenda these items will be discussed. Immediately after, the chairperson asks for a motion to accept the consent agenda, and the motion is voted on by the membership. Minutes will state that the consent agenda was approved unanimously and which items were removed. All supporting documents should be saved with the minutes to demonstrate the information on which the group based its decision. Proceed to the remainder of the agenda. While not difficult to use, a consent agenda requires discipline in working through these steps. In order for this agenda to be effective, the meeting materials must be provided in plenty of time for board members to read them. In reviewing the agenda reading package, board members should consider 3 things. Do I have all the information I need? Does anything need to be corrected? Does anything need to be discussed by the board? A different agenda format imposes different expectations on all parties. It must be understood and accepted by all. But we know that change is not always easy. Adopting a new style of agenda will require an open mind and flexibility from those affected by the change. The decision should be made thoughtfully with a solid understanding of the ramifications of the change. The following steps can help the board adopt change. Discuss the benefits of using the format. Create a reference or cheat sheet on how it works. Outline criteria for what can and cannot be included. Ease into the process. Start with obvious, clear items. Ask the board how it's working. Fine-tune meetings and materials as necessary. Whatever agenda format your organization chooses to use, always be aware that members of your organization feel appreciated when their time and talents are being respected. Today, we covered a number of ways that agendas and the consent agenda can contribute to an effective and efficient meeting. This included preparing agendas with limited, well-defined items that contribute to the overall mission of the organization. We focused on the process for implementing a consent agenda in your organization. Begin by researching the use of a consent agenda. Educate the board or membership about consent agendas. Approve a motion to adopt the consent agenda as the accepted agenda for meetings. Have a committee create a policy. Share the policy and procedures with the board or membership so they can provide feedback and make an informed decision. Approve the policy and implement the consent agenda. Here are some resources from Manitoba Agriculture and Resource Development industry leadership that may be of help in developing a policy for using consent agendas. The fact sheet: discover the benefits policies and procedures can bring to your organization. A consent agenda policy template is located on our leadership resource page. Here are some other resources that may be of help. Creating Effective Agendas from the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. Meetings That Work and Board Meetings from SAS Culture. Is a consent agenda right for your board from Michigan State University? Consent Agenda Frequently Asked Questions from the Walla Walla Community College. The National Council for Nonprofits in their article, Effective Board Meetings for Good Governance, shared a link to What is a Consent Agenda for a Board Meeting by Board Effect. Stay connected. Send questions to leadership@gov.mb.ca. Make time to visit our Manitoba Agriculture and Resource Development Industry Leadership webpage at www.gov.mb.ca/agriculture. There you will find a number of resources, including fact sheets and worksheets, templates, and guidebooks that will help you strengthen your organization. You will also find contact information for rural leadership specialists who are available to work with your ag organization. The website contains a wealth of information related to leading an organization, starting an organization, developing a strategic plan, being a board member, board operations, and dissolving an organization. The resources section also contains a number of tools and links that you will find helpful. Please join the conversation with Manitoba Agriculture and Resource Development. Subscribe to our newsletter, visit our website, call our general inquiries line, view our videos on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter.